Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts, JL. When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for. Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever, it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. And that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. The only podcast with one-stop shopping. Everything you need, right at your fingertips. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember, we do this live every Wednesday and screw it up at the same time. Right here on YouTube. Come hang out and see all of the stuff the editor doesn't want you to see. This week, we're covering select horror films released September 3rd through September 9th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Alex, and with me tonight are JL and Eugene, the OG3.
Good evening, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
Yes,
What's
the
happening?
the original the what was it? The Holy Trinity is here.
The unholy trinity.
The unholy Trinity. We are is in the house. And
You saw me skip there for a second. When I looked back, just something crashed behind me, and there's nobody in here. Like, I'm alone. I can't see anything knocked over. It freaked me the fuck out. I jumped there just like,
well, it is always, it's a blast to have you back, Alex. I know things have been busy, and I'm glad you're able to come out for a show. And it was a valiant effort at the last deal, but nonetheless, well, I don't want to spoil anything for upcoming. We have upcoming content. We don't want to spoil that for people, but it's nice to finally have you back on a show. It's always fun because you never know what's going to happen when the original trio gets together, because it's just
it's hard because we communicate all the time, via our messengers or whatever. We're talking all the time, and so like I can see what's going on, but usually Wednesday night we got 4 kids here. I'm at work, generally sitting in traffic on 114 for an hour and 45 minutes trying to get home at a decent hour. So 7 p.m. is kind of hard.
That shit.
Oh, it's terrible, man. And it's I live in far north Fort Worth, and I commute to Dallas every day, and so it's like
Oh, that's a long
nuts.
drive.
So just trying to get home at a reasonable hour and jump on. So it's good. I got to make the time, and so I got to carve it out of this week. So I was like, screw this. I'm coming in hot this week.
So I try to get back to Dallas when I can, and I've been able to come back a few occasions, and a couple of times I've been back and have experienced traffic again. Like because it's been years since I've lived there, so I don't have to deal with 635, 35, 114, George Bush.
Those are all the roads I drive every day.
Any of that, I don't have to deal with any of that bullshit. I remember being on employee relief, and you get very familiar with all that bullshit. And so, and then like I remember it'd been like almost a year since I'd been back to Dallas. I finally get to come back. I get to go back to Dallas, and I was like, fuck, because none of that shit exists where I live. Everywhere I live is just either two-lane blacktop with no fucking shoulders, or just like a standard like 4-lane, 2 and 1 way, 2, and that's it. That's all I've got. And even 75 is like 2-lane until it finally gets past or gets deeper into the state, and then finally it opens up to an actual highay. So right. I don't have to. It's all country driving for me nowadays.
Yeah, it must be nice.
I got into fucking 121 and was like, Holy shit! I don't recall.
I forgot.
But the instincts kick in because the minute people start getting around Dallas drivers again, you're just like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Your foot instinctively hits the floor. You're punching it. You're doing 95 miles an hour, and you don't give a fuck about who's in front of, behind, or on the sides of you. It's terrible. I've seriously, and on a dark note, like I've seen, I couldn't even tell you, probably 5 or 6 fatalities in the last couple of months, and they're always like, somebody running into the back of a semi. I'm like, man, it's a gigantic truck. Please don't run into the back of the truck. When you're driving, please don't be texting. Just drive.
Just focus. Yeah.
Just fucking.
But it's Texas. It's Texas, especially like the tollway, like, after 5 o'clock, it's fucking death race. That's what it is. It's points all over the place. Just
no turn signals, no speed limits. The cops even just fuck off. They're like, nah, dude, we're not dealing with it. They just leave. They're like, no.
Not today.
And remember, this is
and everybody
Texas,
has a gun. And everybody
this is Texas. The smaller and more woke your vehicle is, the more points you're worth. So, sorry, I didn't mean to get a little political there, but nonetheless, it's always awesome to have Alex here. It's always awesome to have the original trio here. We have an excellent fucking show tonight. First and foremost, before we get started, because we got a bunch of stuff we want to talk about, and a cool thing that I want to show y'all, which is really, really neat. Let's pull up that banner. There is our amazing Patreon banner. All of those incredible people to help to make this show possible. We love you all so very, very much. Thank you for all of your support. We have so many cool things coming in season 5, and we have big changes coming to the show. We have all kinds of cool stuff to unveil. It's going to be an absolute fucking blast. So I can't wait to get there. But we are not there yet. So before we dive into tonight's selections, let's see who we've got in the live chat tonight. And I'll try to make this quick. See a bunch of people in there. Travis Brown is here. He was first as Evening Boils and Creeps. Guess I am first tonight. You were first, Travis. Thank you very, very much. Casey Cooper is here. Good to see you, Casey Cooper, as well as Sherry Tilly. So good to see y'all. Raven Darkstar is here. Thank you so much for being here tonight, hun. Always good to see you. Who else we got in the house tonight? We've got Sarcasms here. Says it's time, fellow babies. Yes, it is. It is time for an excellent show. Joshua Lee is here, another one of our amazing patrons. Good to see you, Joshua Lee. Says, hey, everyone. Good to see you, Joshua. We missed you at the last Bloodbath debate, but appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you so much. And we got Operation Free World is here. Says, let's do this. Absolutely. Thank you for being here, Operation Free World. Appreciate seeing you. Angel Rivera as well says, what up, what up? Good to see you, Angel Rivera. And I see, who else do we have? I know I saw him. Where did they go? Charlie Welch, the only man on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you, Welch. He says, folks, and JL. Appreciate that, bud. And Michelle with one L says, I'm here. Good to see you, Michelle. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. Juggernaut Jared Reed says, what's crack-a-lackin'? The show is what's crack-a-lackin', my good friend. The original trio is in the house. Good to see you, Juggernaut. Thanks so much for being here. NA, one of our longest patrons. Good to see you, NA. Says, hello, everyone. Always good to see you, bud. Out for Blood 832 is here. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. And I see, who else did I saw someone else. I don't want to miss him. Ivy Gentry says, I made it. It's been a minute, Ivory. So good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Gosh, Heckfire as well. World.
Someone I haven't met yet. Sup, Alex? What's up, Operation Free World? How you doing?
There's actually been a bunch of new people here since you've been here. It's been a second since you've been here. Oh, did he freeze?
What a timing on that freeze.
That or he's stoned. Nonetheless, Gosh of Heckfire is here. Good to see you, Gosh of Heckfire. Good evening, you bunch of heathens. You rock. Nemo813 says, wow, JL has paved roads where he lives. Not all of them. Most of them, but not all of them. Not that far rural, but I am pretty rural. But we do have some paved roads. And good to see you, Nemo813. So thanks so much for being here tonight. And let's see. Oh, and thank you very much, Michelle. Yes, smash that like button. We do appreciate that. That helps. Or if you don't like, just smash the dislike button. Either one helps helps the algorithm. So we do appreciate it. Who else? Aaron Reese says, I think the new guy is cooler. Well, then the new guy ought to show up some. Oh, savage. I totally take the wind out of my own sails if I call my own comment savage. But we love you, Aaron. We appreciate it. We know you're getting stuff handled over there at the house. But we know we're going to get you back on another episode here pretty soon. Let me see who else we have here in the chat. Did I say Sarcasm? I think I saw Sarcasm earlier. I did. Casey Cooper, good to see you. I think that's it. I think I got everybody. I think I got everybody who's in there. So if somebody pops up and I missed you, I apologize. But it's so good to see everybody here in the chat. You all rock. We got Aaron hanging out there, keeping it or holding down the live chat while we wait for Alex to get back. But nonetheless, Oh, so Rooster's taking the mannequin challenge. He was taking the mannequin challenge. I have no doubt he'll be back soon. But I also see that the amazing and generous NANA has taken it upon himself to gift the not 5, 6, 7 Week in Horror channel memberships, because yes, we got monetized here at YouTube, and you can get channel memberships. You can support the show here or over at our Patreon, but you can support it here by becoming a channel member. Get access to all of the cool emojis that I am developing. I'm going to have those all out so people can use them. And of course, I just saw what Raven said. And of course, the channel badge. So yes, you can support the show right here with channel memberships. Raven Darkster says, no air horn, LOL. Well,
that's just
I
what,
can't
that's
do
what
it
it's
now.
like now. Yeah, you
It's
can't
just
do
like
it
all
now.
silent. It's just all silent now. Hopefully, Alex will be back shortly. But we have a couple of things that we want to talk about really, really quick. So first and foremost, I'm kind of embarrassed because I fell for this. So it came out over the news that there was going to be a live action version of Nightmare Before Christmas, and Johnny Depp was set to star.
I didn't even hear anything about it.
Right. And so I'd heard about this, and immediately, like some ridiculous fanboy jumped on the bandwagon and was like, fuck yes, I want to see this so bad. It turns out it was satire. It was not true. This has not been confirmed. It's not actually going to happen. But I just had to bring it up because I know a lot of people out there heard about it. See, Juggernaut Jared Reed said it's satire. Yep. I found out it was satire after the fact, and it was kind of like, aw. But it just goes to show how much we love Johnny Depp, or how much I love Johnny Depp, and how much I love Nightmare Before Christmas. So, but yeah, I fell for that. But yeah, it was unfortunate that, unfortunate. Maybe some people think it's fortunate because maybe Nightmare Before Christmas shouldn't be touched. But what do you think? Excited for something like that, or no? Absolutely not. Don't touch it.
No. I can't. I'm trying to think of a film that I saw that was animated that was like, oh man, it was so much better live action. I just I just, because the part about the Nightmare on Elm Street is like the character design.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's still motion. The way it looks, the way it feels, the way they interact with their environment. That's this whole thing. So if you take a live action version of it, and let's say you take a live action and then you copy it and you make Johnny Depp look like Jack, right?
It would be so weird. Like, okay, so Alfred Blood said that would be some wacky CGI.
Like, you legitimate, you have it completely. So there's literally no point to do it unless you redo the entire film. Like if you just redid it and like they're just people now. But if they're just people now, then you doesn't sell the story because it's supposed to be the Halloween world. And that's what they're creatures of Halloween. So I don't know how you would be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it myself either. I don't know how they would do it. It just all of a sudden I was just like, Johnny Depp bandwagon. I have to be on the Johnny Depp bandwagon for everything because he deserves it after going through the bullshit that he went through, and of course not being able to. I don't even know if a Pirates of the Caribbean 6 is going to happen, but I love Johnny Depp. I love everything that he's done. Some more than others. Like I wasn't a terrible fan of like Lone Ranger, but I do love Johnny Depp. I love his contributions to every genre that he works in. And I was kind of like, fanboy. And then I realized, I got taken in. I
I'd like to see a little bit more Johnny Depp away from Tim Burton. Like,
okay.
That's what I'd like to see, because Johnny Depp has done obviously a large catalog of great movies. But he's kind of like that Tim Burton kind of go-to. It's like him and Helen Bonham Carter, even though they're not married, she's still in his movies. Right. I like Helen Bonham Carter's. Her best roles are not Tim Burton roles. Like, for example, Fight Club.
Oh, yeah. She was excellent in that. Did you freeze too?
Yeah. So I would like to see. I like Johnny Depp. But I like to see him like go away from. Were you holding your breath? You're like, he's about to slam Johnny Depp right now. I'm about to end the stream right now. See, he's not even denying it. He's like, I was.
Let's see. Ivy Gator says, I love Johnny Depp, but I'm not into cartoons. I don't know if I want a live action. I'm celebrating that they have abandoned the LA Snow White with the oh, L.A. Snow White with no dwarves. I get that. Yeah. So I don't know. Johnny Depp has done some really, really fantastic stuff. And Travis Brown says, don't forget what happened with Johnny Depp and Fantastic Beasts. Johnny Depp got the short end of the fucking stick, and I will die on that hill, all the live long day. I will die on that hill to the day I die. And he got the short end of the stick. He got railroaded, and hopefully his career obviously is not over, and hopefully he will get some momentum going back. Not like he really, really needs it, but I know that he's going to continue working, and hopefully we will get to see him in some really, really big stuff because the dude is phenomenal. He's phenomenal. He's an amazing person. So I just got to say that.
I mean, at this point with Johnny Depp, right? Like we know Johnny Depp's been like exonerated. So that's and Netflix already has a documentary, Depp versus Heard. So you got stuff right there. Honestly, take a little step back, maybe do some smaller independent stuff. You already have the SAG strike going on right now.
Right.
So you can do a couple small indie stuff and then come back on a different note. I mean, that's what Robert Downey Jr. did. And that's what Robert Pattinson did after Twilight. Did some small stuff, kind of remarket himself, and now he's come back and he's Batman. So,
did you mention Daniel Radcliffe did that as well?
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah,
Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson.
Yeah,
like both of them were great at shedding off like a previous image.
Right. Let's see. I see we got some new people in here. I see wrote it. No last name is here. Gabba2 says there was a petition to digitally replace Amber Heard with Johnny Depp and Aquaman. That would have been fucking amazing. That would have been awesome. I would pay multiple times to go and see that movie.
It made the sex scene like really awkward now. So,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that would be fucking great. Sarcasm says I liked Helena in Merlin. She was amazing. Yes, she was amazing. She's amazing in virtually everything that she does. Let me see what else we got here. I did see, and the Jord said yes. Says hey, sexy party people. Good to see you, Jord. Thanks so much for being here. It's been always a pleasure to see you here in the live chat, bud. And Cindy Johnson is here. Good to see you, Cindy. Says evening, Jail and Eugene. Hopefully, there he is. Alex is back.
Hey!
I swear to God, I said no, I'm not even going to say it again because it's going to shut my computer down. Just if you listen to the intro, you'll understand what just happened there.
Yeah, Operation Free World. I like that. Just don't even just deep fake him. Deep fake Johnny Depp onto Amber Heard's body, and the movie becomes infinitely better.
I popped in right when you're like replace Amber Heard with Johnny Depp on Aquaman. I was like, okay, I like where this is going.
All right. So but definitely let us know down in the comments below what you think. If this were actually happening, because apparently I fell for it. I jumped on the bandwagon. But let us know what you think. Should there be a live-action version of Nightmare Before Christmas, maybe starring Johnny Depp, maybe not? If you were down for that, let us know. If not, definitely let us know. Love to hear what all of you think out there in internet land. Joshua Lee says, speaking of, usually adapting anime to live-action doesn't work. True. And we're going to find out with the One Piece adaptation that's coming to Netflix.
Oh my God, if they fuck it up, I'm going to be so pissed.
I don't know. I mean, we saw what happened with Avatar, because there was like the M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong Avatar, which just spit in the face of everything that came before it, and then there was supposed to be a Netflix Avatar, and then that one got dropped for some reason. We have no idea why. Aaron Reese says, "Oh, go ahead."
Because the thing is, it doesn't transition well. They're like anime and animation is a whole different medium and storytelling technique than live action. It's also why video game and video game movies don't mix very well. You have an exception here and there, but most video games, that's what, for example,
Doom is fucking classic, man.
No, that movie's terrible. The original Super Mario Brothers.
That was.
Oh
trash.
my God, on VHS that you would find in somebody's house under their fucking bed, like
dude, fucking, you're forgetting the greatest of all, Double Dragon. The Double Dragon adaptation.
Nobody even remembers Double Dragon. Get out of here.
The correct answer is the original Mortal Kombat from 1995.
Okay, but that's a great movie.
That is a fantastic movie. Listen, the fire comes up and the theme song comes in, and I was like 10 years old, and I was like, "This is everything I ever wanted."
And it was great. It's like even though the effects in that movie have not aged well, I still enjoy going back and watching that because I remember watching it in the theater and be like, Reptile looks so cool. And now it looks like fucking it's like this is so fucking terrible. But it was awesome back then. It was awesome in the 90s.
Yeah, it worked back then.
Aaron Reese said jail hoped too hard and he changed reality. I actually killed it by hoping for it too bad. I was like, I want it so bad. He's like, nope. Yeah, soundtrack to Mortal Kombat. Excellent shit.
That is a good soundtrack.
What was it? I'm not reading that, Aaron Reese. That's Aaron, I'm not reading that. That's gross. Bob Hoskins was a legend. Oh man, yes, I like Doom is a guilty pleasure. I need soldiers. I don't need anybody else but soldiers. Tell me, Eugene, did your sergeant ever speak to you like that? Mutinous insurrection is punishable by death.
No one talks in the military like that. No one.
Fucking great.
That's way too light. You need to fucking darken that up a little bit.
Oh, this shit was fucking awesome. Oh, I fucking love The Rock in that movie. He's just so over the top. He's just so brilliant. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Genova 28. Good to see you, bud. Says, I love Doom. Fight me. Fucking amazing. All right. So this next thing is coming up is very, very interesting. I recently just saw it and I want to show it to everybody. And this was a new trailer that just dropped. And the reason I want to show everybody is because it reunites Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase in an R.L. Stine movie. So if you haven't heard of this, this is the trailer for the upcoming Zombie Town, which releases September 1st on Netflix. So check this out. Here is the trailer for Zombie Town. Cue the Terror Tube.
Carver has his first new zombie movie coming out in over 30 years. No one knows anything about it, except it'll premiere here, exclusively in Carverville, Halloween night.
Is the projector ready?
Do you need anything else?
No. Start the movie. What is this?
It's magic, baby.
You just
Sky
roll
beams.
the film and it turns the actors into the living dead. It's the power to suck the souls out of everyone in its vicinity.
We can stop them from spreading.
Mesmerian had all the knowledge. If he were here, he'd know what to do.
Your films must be burnt. You have to destroy them all.
Go to the theater. Stop the projector. That's the last film.
No frickin' way.
Run! I just got my driver's license. I can drive.
Trying to get away from it! It's in the same damn car as us! Stop!
Take it low. Strong like water. It's Andy. Grab something and hit him on the head.
I won't do it! We're in really big trouble. I'll never watch another zombie movie again.
Hurry up! What?
Take it low. Strong like water. Stop like water. Ha! Suckers!
Oh, God. Can you drive?
Have you seen my kid? Dean, should have been home an hour ago. Your mom's gonna be very upset with you. I love your costume. Witch, right?
Oh, it's not a costume. I was sweeping the floor. Okay, fine. 1 month detention.
Mrs. Boneyard, please.
Okay, that looks cute as fuck. I love the Fear Street series. I love Fear Street, and I love R.L. Stine stuff. I love Goosebumps. I love the series. Love the book. I grew up reading the books, and I just looks adorable as fuck to me. And I think it'll be seriously entertaining.
Can we just talk about how R.L. Stine is like low key, probably he's taken the transition between Goosebumps and now. I'm talking timeline. So like when we were kids, he crafted things for us as we were kids, and now he's crafting things for our kids. He's taken the generational gap and filled it very elegantly. Everything that he's kind of come out with has been right on par. It's all still his stuff, but it's modernized in a way that it's not terrible. He aged gracefully. His work aged gracefully for sure.
I think it's timeless stuff. I mean the books hold up today, and people
my kids are reading them now. You know how wild it is to have kids reading Goosebumps? Like, it's like, hold on, let me snuggle in real quick and we'll read this together. Yeah, that's classic.
I mean, the thing is, the movie looks really fun. It reminds me with a Boy Scouts guide to the zombie apocalypse.
Yes,
it's just funny. That's all it is. It's just fun. It's not meant to be serious, or it's not meant to have this overall theme. It's something that you can like showcase like your kids and just laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Sarcasm says Aykroyd has lost his damn mind. He is so far down the rabbit hole that even the rabbit is going, "You're too deep, Dan." Okay, true. Dan Aykroyd is a little bit on the crazy side, but at least he can still deliver. He delivered in the Ghostbusters sequel. I fucking loved it. So,
if anybody takes that clip of JL saying what he just said about Dan Aykroyd, and
Dan Aykroyd delivers.
No, you just read that. There was a quote that you said, and somebody's going to need to clip that and use it. What? No, you read the comment. At the end of the comment, there was a quote. I want somebody to clip that voice clip.
You're too deep, Dan.
And I'm going to need you to make a video for it.
Bear, that's cute. Absolutely. Sherry Tilly says, my kids love the Goosebump books. Maybe I can get them over here to watch this with me. Awesome. Sally Skellington is here. Good to see you, Sally. Thanks so much for being here tonight. And there's Elizabeth S. as well, who has been a member of the Army of the Dead for 1 month. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We appreciate that support.
Yes.
One of us. Oh, let's see. A zombie version of Last Action Hero. Yes, pretty much. A zombie version of the Last Action Hero. Absolutely. Thank you.
That's initially what I thought. It was like the projector comes out. I was like, oh, Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm okay with it.
And Annie says, this looks terrible. I have to watch it. Michelle with 1L says, oh yeah, horrible. I can't wait to watch it. Hell yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out as well. It sounds like everybody is looking forward to this, a non-bloody zombie movie, because it sounds like zombies, like they suck your souls. So they just like grab you, like very, I would say very, or I'd say akin to the alien bad guys in at World's End, the Simon Pegg, Nick Frost vehicle. So let me see who else we got here.
It's a great twist.
We got Paracord Princess came in here that said, "Have we started discussing the movies yet?"
We haven't.
We have not.
We're about 27 minutes into this live stream. This is a horror movie podcast. Why don't we go ahead and talk about some horror movies? Eugene, what do we have up first?
Yes, yeah. Well, hang on. Give 2 fucking seconds. So Sarcasm says yes.
Set it up.
Sarcasm says clipped. Yes, I knew somebody was probably going to clip that. You're in too deep, Dan. And there's and
you got
Jasper
3 takes now.
Jasper is here. Good to see you, Jasper. Thanks so much for being here, but appreciate it. Oh, Rodell Sane brought up Life Force. Absolutely. Life Force. That was Anthony Hopkins, Emilio Estevez with Brain Lightning. You just can't beat that. You can't at all. All right. So now, yes, go ahead, Alex. Kick us off.
I already did the fucking thing. Eugene, what we do it first?
Let us know down in the comments below if you're looking forward to the new Zombie Town coming out on Netflix. I'd like to hear if you're excited about it or not. If you love R.L. Stein, let us know down in the comments. Take it away.
All right, first up, we have Contracted Phase 2, which was released September 4th, 2015. Roll it.
He's planning an attack.
He's way past planning. We're trying to contain it.
Contain what?
Viral pathogen. 100% mortality rate.
So you're saying he's spreading the disease?
No, I'm saying he is the disease.
Ugh, I hate blood. It makes me queasy.
All right.
Contracted phase 2. Shit. I caught it again.
The second time. We have Contracted Phase 2, directed by Josh Forbes, starring Matt Mincer, Marina Palke, and Morgan Peter Brown. And basically what we have is this is the direct sequel to Contracted, the first one, as they try to track down where the disease came from. And shit gets a little real. I would say that.
I would say shit gets icky.
Yeah,
really
icky. It's just gooey at that point.
It's a good
Sally Skellington brought up "get vaccinated" down at the end of the trailer, which is so apropos. It really is at this point. Like holy fuck, dude. Okay, so for anybody not familiar with the Contracted series, like the first Contracted film, I found it to be really, really intriguing. It was very much akin to the movie Thanatomorphose, where it's essentially the internalized version of that, where this girl is unfortunately date raped and is infected with the zombie virus, and so she starts decomposing from the inside out as she's slowly dying and turning into the undead. And then the movie ends with her death. And the second film picks up immediately at that. She attacks her mom, she gets shot by the police, and she spreads the zombie virus from there. And as it turns out, that there's a bigger plot going on. The plot is that this terroristic dude who's trying to end the world and shit. The problem that I saw with this, while the zombie effects are quite brutal, and there's a lot of really, really disgusting shit in this, what I found to be problematic predominantly was that Forbes decided to go in the direction of ramping up the gore and the ick factor and all of this, the gooey, gory, gloppy, decomposing nastiness, and sacrificed plot for that, because it essentially, we get this interesting start. Like the first couple of acts are actually pretty decent, as this guy and this girl who are now infected and they're slowly decomposing, trying to figure out what the hell is going on before they themselves die. And we get like the really, really gross pus and decomposition and the failure of their bodies and shit. And then as we progress along the plot, slowly but surely it gets unveiled that it's this terrorist guy who's unleashing this virus upon the world because he wants to end everything. And it was so hackneyed and just kind of like tacked on, because like the police get involved and things are starting to blow up and it's looking like it's going to be really, really interesting. And then it's just this, and then it winds up, and then it just concludes with like a fucking firefight in the police station, zombies everywhere, and then we find out that it hasn't been contained because the pregnant woman, or the girl who was pregnant at the end, she's also infected because she ate the dip. And God, that was so fucking gross.
It was disgusting.
That was fucking nasty. There was some really, really just it's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's no. No, and you can do gore with a good story. I mean, like, even if it's like a cheesy story, like fuck Dead Alive, you want to use a good hyper gore movie that has like, they're focused on the plot. You can use that without getting out of fucking control like this one did. I mean, you look at like, I know it's a TV series, but Black Summer, like super gory, but also very deep storyline. And you hit this and it's kind of like, you lost me about halfway. Now it's getting kind of gross. Now my stomach just hurts and I really don't know what we're doing here.
See, that was ultimately the problem, is because the first Contracted was very, very intriguing, because I always kind of likened it again. It's kind of like Ginger Snaps meets Thanatomorphose, where ostensibly you have this girl, this kind of like this girl who's been raised very, very shut in. She's lived a very cloistered life. She's never really let loose. She is coming to terms with her own sexuality. She's not technically out of the closet, but she's trying to find who she is and determine her identity for herself, instead of being ostensibly the expression of her mother's need to live through her vicariously. So she's still going through these phases trying to change. So she herself is going through massive internal change, but then as a result of the assault, of the sexual assault, winds up becoming infected with the zombie virus, and then in turn goes through that internal change as well. So it's like, that's the expression of the film. And I found that to be really, really intriguing, because as she slowly comes to terms with the fact that she is dying and there's nothing she can do about it, then her nature begins to come out and she's free to explore. So it's not just about a girl slowly turning into a zombie, and finally finding the the inner strength in order to be herself. Now that there's essentially an expiration date on her. Now she's like, okay, I can do whatever I want. Then the whole kind of bucket list thing. I have no fears now. The problem that's intriguing storytelling. That's interesting because it allows for excellent character exploration and fantastic two-hander moments where we can have people growing right there in front of us. And then it takes all of that fantastic premise and all that promise going into phase 2, where we now moved into more people being infected and then dealing with this, and it becomes a standard hackneyed zombie. And then it starts out strong, as it's a guy and a girl who are kind of together and who are best friends and really loved each other. And then they start decomposing together. And that sets the stage for like a relationship against the world, like us versus the world kind of thing. But then it just falls off in the third act and turns into a hackneyed zombie splatter flick, which, just throws all of that excellent storytelling material out the window in favor of possibly setting up a third film, which I think was just bad. I mean, you could leave threads for a third film, but you don't need to sacrifice everything you've got just to make a gory, gloppy zombie flick.
No, you could have used half of this movie, made it into the first half of this movie, made it into a really good story, and then done a third phase where you kind of, peter off like this one did pretty much right away. Because it blows my mind, because this was 2015. The first one came out 2 years before that. It worked. People liked it, and then they changed so much of it that it was like, okay, what happened? You had the story. There was plenty to go off of, but it just kind of crapped out.
See, this is an excellent. Oh yeah, this is an excellent point. Operation Free World brings up. I love the symbolism of the orchid in the first film, and that because it plays throughout the entire thing. It plays throughout the entire film, especially especially as it comes to the end, and she's allowed the flower to die as she's going into the competition, still thinking that, still trying to hold on to the last vestiges of who she knows and who she was comfortable with. And then, when she realizes it's all falling apart, that's when essentially the shit really hits the fan. And no, unfortunately, to answer the question, Operation Free World, they did not bring that kind of symbolism back. They start with the symbolism predominantly being the relationship that is burgeoning between these two people who wind up infected with the zombie virus, and how the two of them come together to try and, find a solution and maybe even a cure. But even at one point, a cure becomes out of the question because they're so physically deteriorated and far gone that then it just becomes about them versus the world, about them trying to basically stand up and be themselves in the face of, what's happening to them. And, there were some themes of self-acceptance and themes of finding the things that, the things that bond us together. But all of that excellent setup in the first film just kind of goes out the window. We don't get any real internalization, just, people running around freaking out. There were some decent moments, some good acting moments, like when they go to visit the drug dealer and they talk to him. There were some good moments there. And what really drives the film is the practical body horror effects, because there was some seriously fucking nasty shit in this film. Almost unnecessarily nasty, like Raven Darkstar brings up, like unnecessary grossness. But while the dip scene was the fucking gross, and he's like draining his back, that was disgusting. But
yeah, dude, yeah. And
what gets me was the fucking contacts, man. Because
oh my god, eyes! Why eyeballs?
Why it's always eyes.
Because it's disgusting and it's terrifying. And there's always like a symbolic meaning. You take the sight away, you take away, but it's like fuck, man. So like you said, this film used those powerful practical effects to kind of, I think, make up for what they were lacking in the story. I feel like they knew that they were kind of lacking there, so they pulled this in. Because like you said, to bring it back, the symbolism of the orchid, that was amazing in that first film, and a lot of people don't know. You've got an orchid, and throughout different cultures that means different things. It can mean fertility, it can mean innocence and purity, and that dying. And so instead of symbolism in this one,
life out of death, the new life out of death, ostensibly exactly. Is where that's exactly, yeah.
And then it just stops there, and it's the orchid. It's fun fact, my favorite flower, because of its history and the things that it symbolizes in cultures, and this delicate thing that you let die to kind of release the constraint of having to hold back on who you are. And now that your innocence and your purity has died, what comes after that. And then they just didn't use any of that, and they replaced it with these practical effects, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Love body horror. I love the way that it is used as a medium to drive the horror aspect, but also kind of push people to their limits. It pushes your mind to, because everything that you see, like the eye thing, it has different things for different people.
Right.
I got poked in the eye with a stick when I was younger and had a bloody eyeball, and it terrifies me to get anything close to my eye because it hurts so bad. And now anytime I see somebody doing something to an eye, I relive that moment, And it's the eye thing. The practical body effects in this were great. They were fantastic.
Really solid.
Throw up.
Yeah,
three-quarters of the way through, you got to stop. You got to be like, hold on, I'm gonna go take a glass of water, take a beat. Hold on.
Well, it is a bummer. It is a bummer that they sacrificed the storytelling they had in the first film in order to get this one done. And I think what drove that, the reason that happened, is because Contracted was so well received, and not just for like the practical effects, but also just the themes and the storytelling itself. It was so well written and so well directed and well acted that essentially a sequel was greenlit, and they wanted to get it done like how we want to capitalize on this, because it's such an extreme style horror film, very similar to Thanatomorphose, which if those who haven't seen Thanatomorphose, is a film that essentially examines the internalization of trauma and internalization of abuse, and then how that changes us from the inside out, but in a disgusting way, in which the female protagonist essentially rots from the inside out. It's really fucking disgusting. But we talked about it here on the show. It's nuts. But in this one, the film was Forbes was trying to get the film done so quickly that they kind of didn't have time in the writing. Writing wise, it's much easier to write just like these gory, gross scenes with some perfunctory dialogue. But in this, he didn't have time to explore it like he wanted to, like for the first film. And so I think the rush job is what ultimately hurt this one, because people were talking the second one, people were talking of phase 3, and this is what it was going to be. And he was running so quick in order to get this thing done that essentially he kind of fell on his face and just eschewed all the things that made the first film great for just another drop in the bucket zombie film, just ramp up the ick and the gore factor in order to kind of like grab people's attention. But that's not what people were looking for, not what people drew people to the first film, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. It just did not develop the predecessor's concepts very well, and I wish it had, because it was such a missed opportunity. No, I'm not bringing out the turd polisher for this one. Sarcasm, don't need to, since the theme was good, but the execution needed a little less misogynistic writer. There was a bit of misogynism in this one. A little, ostensibly, the very premise of the entire franchise is predicated on an act of sexual assault. So there's the brutality there. Not to mention your lead character, who's not certain if she's gay or bi and is still in the closet, and then falls for this dude who then seduces her and then grapes and then infects her with the zombie virus. Given what we watch, it's pretty brutal, but I just wish there had been a little bit more of the depth in this one. Just a little too shallow for me. Let me see. Dr. Nimrod is here. Good to see you, Dr. Nimrod, who has been a member of the Army of the Dead for a month. Thank you so much, Dr. Nimrod. Appreciate you hanging out tonight. Do love it when you come by. And Travis Brown said The Fly 1986 had a good tragic romance story while having gross out effects. It does. The Cronenberg version of The Fly was excellent, but it was able to accomplish what essentially the first Contracted was doing, where it had this excellent depth, deep story going on, and the love story, and things that were going on there with the gross out body horror. So the problem was that I think this falls down on the director. I think this falls down on Forbes. Forbes was rushed. He wanted to get it out as fast as possible. He wanted to strike while the iron is hot, and I think he should have taken his time. If he'd taken his time and actually kind of just wait, I want to make sure it's there, it's where it's supposed to be. Not just another drop in the bucket body horror, but really something special. I think he could have gone that direction and set us up for a phase 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Oh, and by the way, Dr. Nimrod, Angela and the dogs are doing fantastic, so I appreciate you asking. Thank you very, very much. But yeah, so, and I see that Eugene is not here, so I will pick it up. I will pick up the CTA on this one. So the question is, because after phase 2, performed so dismally at the box office. And phase 1 did so well, but phase 2 kind of like plummeted. There is a question as to whether or not there will be a phase 3. But given what happened with phase 2, do we see a possibility? Does anybody even want to see a phase 3? Kind of a conclusion to the idea of like this guy who's actually a member of this cult and wants to spread this virus and bring about the apocalypse, which is essentially the whole thing that's going on. Is he's basically Johnny Appleseeding the fucking zombie virus throughout the city. And so the question is, do we want to see a phase 3? So yes or no to a contracted phase 3? Let us know down in the comments below. Of course, here in the live chat or weekinhorror@gmail.com. Love to hear what you think. Let us know. Phase 3, contracted phase 3, yes or no? Let me see. Operation Free World said, is there a limited window to release a sequel and bank on it? I prefer a great one 10 years later over a crappy one rushed out while the iron is still hot. Agreed. Absolutely agreed, Operation. Definitely. Casey Cooper said, nope, everyone died. Definitely. Yeah, rushing it to get out, never a good thing. Never a good thing. And Raven Darkstar brings up Alien versus Predator because they rushed it because fans wanted it so bad. So they tried to strike, and now it was crap. Travis Brown says, no. But Paracord Princess says, yes. A conclusion to the story. Very intriguing.
I think curious. 8 years later and what has happened in the world in the last few years, I think you could probably swing it.
That's true. What's going on out in the world right now, especially with the recent news that's kind of come out, that there may be a place, once we're past the strike, we may be able to, there may be the atmosphere may be ripe for something of that nature.
I would agree.
Let's see. Ivy Gentry says maybe it depends on how much they put into it. Agreed. So hope they have a decent budget. Aaron Reese says, did JL just compare Johnny Appleseed to the apocalypse? I don't know if that's epic or terrible. Actually, I stole that line. I kind of stole that. The line was inspired from Dreamcatcher, from Morgan Freeman.
Oh, shit.
And is one of these guys breaking out of here and spreading the infection like he's Johnny fucking Appleseed or something. That's where I got that line.
Yeah, that's where it is. Mr. Gray.
Mr. Gay, yes, absolutely.
Mr. Gay.
All right, so since Eugene had to step away, but let's go on to our second one. That's you, Alex.
That's you, JL.
Oh, no, shit. I scrolled down. It's me. It's me. My bad. It's me. Yeah, so the second film that we're going to talk about tonight, released September 6th, 2013, we have the remake, actually, of Come Out and Play, Mexican horror film. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube.
There it is. What do you think?
Good job.
You hear that? It's completely silent.
That's a bad sign.
Hola?
Looks like they just up and left. Do you know where everybody is?
De carnal. Momentito. These kids killed that old man. They tied him up. They slaughtered him.
Empezamos a oír unas voces.
All the kids woke up at the same time last night, and then they all started attacking all the adults.
We have to get out of here.
Tengo miedo.
Look at me. We have to go now.
right. So that was the trailer for Come Out, Come Out and Play, which was a Mexican horror film written and directed by Makinov and based on El Juego de los Niños by Juan Jose Plans, or The Children's Game, and starring Vanessa Shaw, and Eben Moss-Backrack, and who people might remember from Punisher and Girls and a number, and also he's on The Bear right now as well. But the film essentially follows a couple, a guy and his wife is, I believe, 8 months pregnant, and they decide to go out to an island during the local celebration, and they take a boat out to an island and discover that only the children are around. There are no adults, and they slowly begin to uncover that something very, very sinister is going on the island. It is a brutal fucking film, and okay, so one thing that's really, really intriguing about this is that the film itself is a remake. The film is a remake of, if I remember correctly, it's a remake of Who Can Kill a Child, which is also known as Island of the Damned, which came out in 1976, was a Spanish horror film, and that was based on the book El Juego de los Niños, the Children's Game, which came out, I believe, in the 50s by Juan Jose Plans. And essentially, it's about children being affected by this kind of evil, very Children of the Corn style, where they kill all the adults on this island, and then as more adults come, they essentially are then able to kill them and then get off the island themselves, because the movie has a bad end. It pretty much has a spanakopita. Yes, Children of the Corn on an island. Yes, her being pregnant did play into the plot as well, because there's something that is infecting the children as they come into contact with one another. Like something happened, although it's never really explained, just this evil that the children can then spread amongst one another. Now, this particular film, what Makinov put together was a really, really brutal version of Who Can Kill a Child, because in Who Can Kill a Child, things much more was left up to the imagination. This one went really, really extreme, because in Who Can Kill a Child, the whole question came down to was putting adults in a situation where could they choose to kill the child in the situation? If the children are coming after you, could you do that? Very similar to Children of the Corn. He's like, when he has the opportunity to take out the kids, but he chooses not to because they're fucking kids. It's the same quandary. Exactly. Whereas Who Can Kill a Child played more by exploring that and not really showing the graphic nature of it. In this one, it goes hella graphic, not just what the kids are doing to the adults and the whole sequence where they're playing with their body parts and shit and doing fucked up shit. But when he finally decides to go to fucking town on them, it's like, I am an adult. And, it's like,
hold on. It's me or them, and they're tiny.
What's that? What would you rather do? Fight? What was it? What would you rather do? Fight 8? Or fight? It was like, I can't remember. You remember what I'm talking about, right? It was it was fight this or fight 300. It was like fight 300 third graders or three. I'm not 100% sure, but when he starts going to town and Eben starts running around wow, just taking out kids left and right, just like fucking Sauron in the fucking battle, just
taking them out. It's you kind of have to. It's cool that he didn't totally ruin this. Okay, so the original story, the book and then the movie, and there's a lot of background on how the kids are now messed up now because of stuff that the adults did, and there's a make sure you're treating your kids right kind of backstory on a lot of it. That kind of played into this one. I don't know. It kind of came down more to just waiting for him to unload on the kids. And you know what? If you've got kids, you understand how fucking creepy children's movies, children horror movies are. Because everybody that's a parent, I guarantee at least half the people that got kids have some fucking terrifying story about their kids. Mine, I'll make it real short. Went to go put my, she must have been 2 or 3 at the time. Little kid, just learning how to make complete sentences. Go to put her down to sleep one time, and she's staring at the corner of the room. And, I watch plenty of horror movies, so I'm like, nope, not turning around. So I asked her, what are you looking at? She goes, my friend. And then proceeds to take her eyes and follow them up the corner of the room to the ceiling above us. And I said, good night, sweetheart. And I walked out of the room. Because you can see some shit that I can't. I don't want nothing to do with that. But But the aspect of kids being the enemy, so there's a lot of horror where there's kid ghosts or kid, but when there's actual like kids here that seem to be just kids and they are now a threat, that's where it's like, shit, now we're in this moral dilemma. Like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, kill a kid? Does the kid kill me? Do I just let the kid kill me because I don't want to live in this hellscape? Like, I don't know. Yeah. So
yeah, it was intriguing. It was intriguing what Makinov brought to it. And I will give him this. It's a very okay. So the film itself, unfortunately, was a box office bomb. It really didn't do anything, and I blame that due to the lack of marketing. The reason that it wasn't really put out there that Makinov was doing this. This was Makinov's first major work. He'd done some shorts before this, but then came out to do this one, and he really was this kind of a passion project for him. And then it really didn't go. It unfortunately didn't go anywhere, and we haven't really heard anything from Makinov since. And this came out in 2013. He hasn't really done anything since then. Now, the film itself,
box office bomb.
It bombed.
It was a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, that's true.
It made like $2,600 on like a $940,000 budget. Dude, that was bad.
Yeah, it was not good, which is a shame because the film itself, I felt was very well acted. Vanessa Shaw and Eben Moss-Bachrach were both really, really good. The awesome kids were all, terrifying in their respect. It was well done. Not to mention, I thought it was incredibly well shot. Good, excellent practical effects. There's no like CGI bullshit in this one, and really, really fucking creepy. Especially when the kids start transmitting the shit to one, and then you realize that one of the girl transmitted the shit to the baby that had yet to be born. Yeah, and they go through the whole sequence of the baby killing her from the inside, which is really fucking savage. So it was really well shot. I love the exterior scenes. I love the creepiness of having this island town that is just completely vacant. And everything was well done. Excellent choices here and there. The sound was great. Cinematography was fantastic. The way it was lit, everything was good. Everything was working on point. But this is the one thing I want to talk about because as good as this movie was, in my eyes, was how well crafted it was, and it was a decent adaptation, even though he eschewed some of the more interesting and deep story elements in favor of the visual atrocities that are going on, which is okay. It's a movie. My problem was Makinov himself. Now, this is really, really intriguing. I wanted to get your opinion. I hope Eugene comes back because I want to get his opinion on this as well. Now, for those unfamiliar with Makinov, there's not a lot out about this guy. Okay, so Makinov is, to put it loosely, would I be correct in saying kind of an oddball director?
Yes. So digging into this guy, after we started talking about just how kind of off he was, he had a near-death experience and came back from it a little broken, I believe would be the way to put that. And he went into a lot of what really matters, kind of I don't want to say a nihilist view, but more of like a exploratory view on the world. And having his passion in making these movies and then having this near-death experience, I think broke something inside of him. And I feel like he kind of reached on this one as his, because there was a short that came out before this movie came out, and it was Makinov's manifesto. And it's on YouTube, I think. It was a long time ago, but it was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. This is my passion. And he put it out there and it flopped. And I think that hurt him a lot, but only because if you really look at his backstory, this was it. This was his big push to be like, I either make it or break it. So yeah, he was a little off. He's a little weird, but he knew what he wanted, and that was dangerous in the state of mind that he was in, because I don't think he got it. Not that this was bad, because this movie, like you said, it was done well. It was a good movie. It's worth a watch for sure.
Sarcasm brings up it was well paced as well. The pacing of it was very good. Editing was solid. Pastoral and slow opening build to an absolute frantic finale. It was well constructed. It was a very competent horror film. As far as adaptations go, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I wondered, like, why didn't this thing like go off like it should have? And especially with like Makinov, he's setting up this kind of idea as to what kind of auteur he wants to, this kind of horror auteur. And unfortunately, this is where I think the breakdown comes. Now, Makinov himself, for anybody who's never seen a picture of this guy, there's no pictures of his face. Is that everywhere he appears, he always wears a mask. It's very what's the group? I don't know music that group. Well. No, the ones with the masks.
Daft Punk.
Daft Punk. Very Daft Punk. So he goes everywhere and he wears a mask. Now, when they were shooting on set, he wasn't always there because Makinov, as an artist, has this really interesting take that I think worked against him. And that was ultimately that he felt that him being present or him showing his face would somehow infect the story with his ego, that somehow his ego would infect the story of what was happening. He didn't want to see himself reflected in the movie itself. So he's trying to remove himself from it, remove his ego from it. And he went to extreme lengths to make this happen. Predominantly, the biggest one is that he went everywhere wearing this mask and wearing these goggles over the mask. Sometimes he'd take them off. And even Eben says that when they spent some downtime like together, like they went out octopus hunting and everything, he wouldn't take the mask off, like ever. So, and it was always kind of problematic. And he was really, really frustrated with it because he had a difficult time seeing out of it. So, but that's the way he conducted himself. The problem is he made such a big deal about removing himself from the picture. Instead of just letting the actions speak for themselves, he set it all up. It's all this big thing. So people begin to wonder, is this just a ploy? Is this just like interesting character work? Is this just, this is what he's trying to do in order to kind of like I'm Makinov. But that's the problem. And that's where I think he failed, is that in trying so hard and making such a big deal out of removing his ego from the project and not wanting the movie to reflect him, but reflect the story, which is admirable, he in turn hurt himself by making such a big deal out of it that the whole thing became infected by his ego. I think what happened. Ironic. It's ironic, yes.
It's ironic because of the way that he spoke about it. I think I have the quote pulled up here. By punishing the ego through anonymity, he can command the wisdom of being one with another. And he claimed that he wears the mask while working with his cast and crew in an effort to enforce his personal vision of his cinema that detaches itself from the ego-driven model of the director. But what you're doing is you're drawing more attention to it. So is that you hurt yourself, so you're punishing yourself. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy,
right?
In the opposite way that I think he was thinking that it was going to work.
So he kind of he generated the outcome that he was desperately trying to avoid because he was so desperately trying to avoid it. I feel like Master Oogway of the shit Kung Fu Panda, right? He met the destination he was going for. One often meets their destination on the road they choose to avoid it. So that's what I think he ran into, and that's ultimately what I think hurt the film, is because rumors about this dude started to abound, and then when people start talking about him, talking about working with him and how kind of off he is and how kind of like strange, and he has like this really, really I would say almost antithetical approach as a director, and then people start talking about that instead of the quality of the movie, which I think he essentially kind of shot himself in the foot on this one. I know it's admirable to try and remove your ego from the project, the kind of like denial of ego or the ego destruction, so that you don't infect your art. But art ostensibly is a reflection of those who do it. You can't, or it's an expression of those who do it, and you can't avoid that. You can only try to find a balance between the two.
We wouldn't have a podcast if the ego of the director wasn't portrayed in films, because they would all be the same. Everybody would be the exact same. So no, the ego is very important when it comes to, especially, we were talking about Avatar earlier. You want to talk about ego, James Cameron, holy shit. You could just AF all day.
So the thing is with ego,
great movies.
Well, because a lot of directors have egos. A lot of directors are A-type personalities.
Says the director.
Yeah, it says the director.
That's why I wanted to hear what Eugene had to say on this, because this is intriguing. Because like Aaron says, the mask was such a statement that it created a cult of personality, which is nothing but ego. So, go ahead, Eugene.
So the thing is, we look at someone like, say, James Cameron, right? James Cameron has a large ego, but it's earned. He has the pedigree to, if he wants a shot a certain way, people are going to bend over backwards to get him what he wants because he's proven himself. when you get up and coming directors that they want to be dicks and they want their ego and all this other kind of stuff, what ends up happening is it starts diluting the project because you start taking away your experts, your other experts in the field. When you get the examples of people who are just yes men,
right?
And you get things like, for example, like the Phantom Menace with George Lucas. George Lucas is not a bad director, but no one told him no. The entire production, no one told him no, and you end up getting Phantom Menace. Whereas if you look at A New Hope did have budget restraints, and you had producers that are like, no, that's not going to work. The studio was like, no, stuff like this. So he had to change things. And then when you look at Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, first of all, he didn't direct those two. He was just the producer on them. And you had other people who were going, like Irving Kershing, I think he did Empire Strikes Back, was like, I'm going to do this way. I'm going to change this. So you have to have somebody who can step in and tell you no, because you're not always going to have the best idea on something. You're just not. It's human nature. That's why you have your department heads. That's why you have your cinematographer. That's why you have your editor. That's why you have your assistant director and you have your production designer, because sometimes if you get the right people, they're going to come up with better ideas than you. They just are. Like the editor of Jaws that went over Steven Spielberg's head. Hey, your shark looks like crap.
Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg goes, no, I want to see it. So the editor went over Spielberg's head and straight to the studio, and the studio sided with the editor. And ends up, that's what everybody likes about Jaws. Oh, you don't really see the shark till the very end because the editor knew. Right. If Steven Spielberg had his way, the shark would have been seen in the first 5 minutes when it goes attacks a girl swimming. That was Steven Spielberg's. That's how he envisioned it. And it would have looked terrible. So you never want to be in a position of that, yes, except the Stanley Kubrick, the James Cameron, and those are the extreme exceptions to the rule.
Aaron Race brings up, it's the difference between pride and arrogance. Pride is earned, but arrogance is assumed. And I absolutely agree with that. I think Makinov, and it was someone else brought it up as well. What was it? Where did they say it? It was Sarcasm brought up, and then put his name in great big bold letters over the title. You know, it was like, I'm an artist, Makinov, the artist. And I think, I don't want to dump on the dude for what he tried to do. And I don't want to say that he wasn't earnest in his efforts, but I will say maybe he didn't think that through, and he wound up self-sabotaging. You know, he undermined his film, which is fucked up because it's actually a good fucking movie, you know? But the reason nobody heard about it and it made no money at the box office is because no effort was put in to really market this thing to a grander audience. Like, you know, I don't know if you heard, Eugene, but the film itself, what was it? Alex pulled it up. Had a budget, US dollars budget, is a Mexican film, man, of $940,000. 940 grand to shoot this movie. It was 12 million in Mexican currency.
In Mexican dollars.
Like that. But box office, $2,600.
Well, because also what happens is if you don't have someone experienced, like a producer or a distributor, a lot of times what happens is you have $1 million to make a film, and then people spend every dime of that $1 million, and they get their film. They're like, cool, I have a film. And then they're like, all right, so how are you going to let people know the film exists? Because you got to pay an editor for the trailer. You got to pay PR company. There are companies out in LA that their specific job is to market films.
And I'm wondering if he tried to play off of the whole being the guy behind the mask thing was supposed to be his ploy, and that was supposed to get everybody talking. But you can't just rely solely on just a ploy like that. It's just not going to work. You got to have the marketing.
I think it would have worked, but I think he played it too hard. Is what it was. Like he went too deep with it. If he had just done the whole mask thing, didn't answer questions about it, did his job as a director, but just, I'm going to try this tactic. I'm going to be a director. I'm going to do the director thing, because he didn't even do that. He wasn't actually on set all that often, according to the actors, according to Shaw and Moss Backrack, that he wasn't there all that often. And when he did show up, he was in the mask, but he was very hands off. In fact, he rarely, if ever, gave notes. So like they would do they would do a take, and then and he was like cut, and then they would move on. He'd like, and so no notes for the actors, and they were good. If they were okay with it, it was like, okay, if he's got no notes, then we're good. We're moving on. No sweat. So the problem was, if he had just showed up, did his job as a director, like any normal director would do, and just use the mask as a personal thing. Like, I'm gonna wear this, and I'm gonna do this in an attempt to try and remove myself from this. If he just done that, like almost experimental, that might have worked. But he made such a big fucking show out of it, and it was such a big thing that was integral to his process that that's all that people could talk about, and it overshadowed what was ostensibly actually a really good fucking movie. So, which is why I think,
because I mean, at that point, it's weird. You're expecting as a director to have a certain dynamic with your crew and a certain dynamic with your cast. You want to be able to get into a point where the cast trusts you, where they're able to tell intimate and personal secrets, and maybe get a certain performance out of an actor for a specific scene. You have to be able to really connect. You don't want to disassociate yourself with the crew, and you don't want to put yourself above people. Like that's one of the things is you have this, once again, going back to the ego stuff. You start putting yourself above everybody. You start belittling people, and then when you stop giving actors notes, what ends up happening is this: actors either go, "Oh, well, I guess he got what he wanted. We're going to move on." But after enough times of not giving notes, actors are going to feel like you gave up.
Yeah.
Like maybe you're not getting your vision at all whatsoever, and you don't see a point anymore, and you're just kind of like,
you've accepted the fact that you're not going to get what you want, so just fuck it. Let's just get this over with.
Let's move. And I've seen directors try to direct actors, and they're just not getting. And eventually, directors like, you know what, let's move to the next scene. And like, they're like, it's going to be what it is, and that's like defeating.
That's got to be so disheartening,
especially because like the actor's like, I still can't figure out what's going on. I don't know what to do. Or that's a tale sign that you're going to be in a bad movie. Yeah. And you're all of a sudden you're like 4 or 5 days into a 20-day shoot, and you're like, maybe this is going to be a bad movie. And
or unless you're Stanley,
days left. Yeah.
Unless you're Stanley Kubrick, and he will get it no matter what it takes.
But he has the thing is, he has the pedigree, because when you look at we had Shelley Duvall do 127 takes. That movie was shot on film. So imagine the cost of film of 127 takes, knowing you're not going to use 126 of them.
That's
if you're a first-time director using film, that's not going to fly. That's not.
No, the producers are going to fly in and literally string you up on the set. It's like, what are you doing?
You get 2 takes and you're going to move on.
You freaking psycho!
Like
you have an idea how much these reels cost? Do another take and get it right. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, it's like David Lynch, where David Lynch is known for, he would tell an actor, you know what, we're going to roll it again, and I want you to do it better.
That's it. That's all you're gonna give me.
I've got that. Yeah. I've actually gotten that before myself. Yeah, it was like doing one take. It was like, say the line, and then the director. What I can't stand is when you do it, and then you say the line, you complete the scene. And the actors know when the scene is done. There's nothing more to go, because we know what we're shooting. And then the director, that you get to a point and you stop, and then everybody's like, and then the director's just no cuts. No walk up, no keep rolling, no nothing at all. No, the scene's over, but they're still going, and he's just sitting there, or they, because they're just sitting there like looking at and you have no idea what to do. It's like, do we do it again? Do we go back to one? What like what's happening here? Nope. Directors got to take their time, and really make you question your worth as an actor, and eventually, cut. Let's move on. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Do you think that was your best work? Do you think that was your best? Do you think you might be able to do it better?
Well, so it depends if there's a purpose like that. Because I'll go back to Denzel Washington in the movie Glory, the scene where he's getting whipped because they thought he was a deserter. And so they had a pad on his back because they're using the real flog. And it didn't hurt. It didn't break the skin, but it was uncomfortable.
Right.
When it happened. So the director goes, cool. Well, we're going to do 10 hits. And I'm going to say cut. Denzel Washington's like, cool. So boom, action. They do the 10. And the director's like, so
he wanted to see that look on Denzel's face, that frustration. He wanted to see that. I get it.
So the actor's like, it just like keeps going. He goes like another like 20 times. Like
Holy
it's a ridiculous amount, but he got the like that has a purpose. And if you're just sitting there just like, I don't know, I want to see what just the actor. You're just
I want to see what they do. Dance for me, puppets. I fucking hate. Oh God, I hate that.
There's that type A ego right there. That's
right. So
I know
ultimately,
that I know that you can do it better.
I think that's what happened with Makhanoff is that he shot the film in the foot with his own antics. Like, really, I don't know. He doesn't really give interviews. He doesn't really talk to people. And we haven't really heard anything of him. Like, he dropped this film out of nowhere after doing a couple of short films on shamanism. And then he drops this film out of nowhere, this ostensibly excellent movie, and just disappeared because no one really knows why. It's like, and the people who know him have said, well, he'll pop up when he wants to pop up and do his thing. He may be on a mountain somewhere, like communing with, the stratosphere or something. I have the Akashic records or some shit. But nonetheless, I hope if he does come back, I hope he doesn't shoot himself in the foot. Because I think he's got real talent as a director. He's got good instincts, and he works with very talented and excellent people who have great vision and can help to, I would say, translate what he wants to the film itself. So it's just a shame that he got in his own way. That's what really, really sucks. But what I want to ask the audience, given that Come Out and Play, despite the fact that it is a really, really good film, do you think, which one did you think was better? Because one thing that Makhanoff did with this film was he eschewed much of the philosophical aspects of the movie about adults having to take the life of a child. He eschewed much of that for the violence and the gore that occurs in his version. But which one do you think was better? The original 1976 Spanish film? Or do you think this one was better? Makhanoff's vision was better, that we don't need all that deep philosophical underpinning, or maybe we do. Let us know what you prefer, the original version or the remake, down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com, or let us know here in the live chat. And I know probably a lot of people probably not seen the original, but there you go. There's two movies you can check out. You can check out the original, which was Who Can Kill a Child, came out in 1976. And I believe that was directed by Narciso Serrador. So you can check out that one, or you can check out Come Out and Play. Both of them great films. Just they take it, different approaches, each one. I just found it was like weird. It's like, man, Makhanoff, innovative, or was he just a straight up contradiction? I just think he was a contradiction in terms. Unfortunately, he was trying so hard not to be that he wound up being one, which is a fucking Alanis Morissette song.
Try too hard.
All right, Alex, what we got next?
All right, I'd say move away. I don't know. This one's weird too. Let's talk about #Alive. Came out September 8th, 2020. Super poor timing. Roll the trailer.
My daily life.
하이하이. 왔어.
오, 모리스님 등장. 대박.
안녕하세요. 오늘 학교 가나요?
노. 일단 저 벙커 와서 3분 파밍하고 내가 핑 찍으면 달리 3.
오케이.
에? 뭐야 저거?
뭐?
대박이야. 저거 레알임?
네, TV 한번 켜봐.
TV 저거 CG 아니야?
TV가 왜?
영화같이?
올해 초부터 축적된 초미세먼지가 오늘 역대 최악 농도를
보시는 것처럼 시민들이 갑자기 놀라는 폭력성을 보이고
Yeah, that's bad.
서울 강북권 일부에서
good.
폭동처럼 시작됐던 이 현상은 그 규모가 매우 빠르게 커지고 있으며 이미 수도권을 넘어 전국적으로 확산되고 있는 것으로 보입니다. 이에 정부는 이에서도 집단 정원 사태를 심각한
Raising the emergency level is serious.
This shit for real.
Yeah, that looks pretty serious.
This is a Taylor Swift cartoon.
I love those overhead shots like that. When being an introverted gamer pays off.
This isn't where I parked my car.
Oh shit, I have no survival skills. Aaron Reeves, they've raised the national emergency level to it's not funny anymore. You know, all three of us are imagining what we do in the scenario.
Yep.
We all probably have different ideas.
No!
So of all three of us, what we were thinking, that probably wasn't one of them.
That was not, that option was not on the table. Not at all.
I have two options. I can open the door or not open the door. In that situation, it's always going to be not open the door.
And I see Robert Biter's here. Good to see you, Robert Biter. Thanks so much. He says late again, stupid work. That's okay. You jumped in just in time. We were talking about a really, really good one now. So thank you very much, Robert Biter, for being here. And I thought I saw somebody else had popped in. I'll catch him here in a second. But thank you so much for being here. Yes, Casey Hooper, never opened the frickin' door, ever.
No. God. Okay, this one is #alive. I'm going to butcher the shit out of some names in this, so I apologize in advance, but I'm going to try my hardest here. This was directed by Il Cho, written by Il Cho and Matt Naylor. This one's starring Yu Ain, Park Shin-hai, Jean Bae-soo. We've got Young Wak-sun, Chai Kung-lee. We got a lot from the trailer here. This is going to be a typical zombie movie. You've got your introverted, like you said, JL, introverted gamer, teenager in the house playing video games when the news kicks on to, hey, something's fucking happening. And like magic, this person is right in the middle of the epicenter of the situation, where zombies are now running across the street killing people. As we saw, it all started out and this guy was pretty okay, and then he opened the fucking door. And after he does that, shit goes fucking south. So if you didn't open the door, we wouldn't have a movie. In an emergency situation, keep the door locked, keep your Glock cocked, and sit back and wait for instructions.
locks cocked and ready to sit on my ass and wait for somebody to tell me what to do.
Yep.
I got enough ammo in here to sit and wait for a little bit.
I really dug this one.
I found intrigue. Didn't Alex's hair used to be darker? Yes, it did. I have this weird thing where as soon as the sun comes out in the summer, my hair goes to a lighter color. Thanks for noticing.
Awesome. So I found this really, really interesting because typically you get like American films or you get like Korean films or Japanese films or, you know, like Eastern films that are adapted for American audiences. This is actually the opposite because #Alive is actually based on an American horror film that also came out in 2020 that called Alone, starring Tyler Posey and Donald Sutherland. Then that film didn't do as well. This is what I find is really interesting because oftentimes we love East J horror, K horror, you know, horror from the other side, and it gets adapted here, and it's kind of like, not great. But then we released a horror film, and then they took it's like, no, you didn't do it right. Let's do it right this time. And fucking #Alive comes out, and #Alive was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and was surprised that they took all of the great elements of Alone and brought them over and added so many cool things in this. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that is, but I think the approach to horror in the East is just so much more fascinating than we have. They don't rely on formulas as much as we do. And they're willing to subvert expectations and take risks and really push the envelope when it comes to storytelling, unlike here in America. I think that's what the problem is. It's like, we don't want to take risks because it's all about money. We want to make sure we get that ROI. Whereas over there, it's kind of like, fuck no, we're going to do what we want. And it's going to make fucking money because we know we're going to get solid storytelling.
It's the storytelling. And this is one of those movies. There was one movie called, I don't know if we ever talked about it, called The Platform.
We talked about it.
You get into the movie and like, yes, it's subtitled, but you get to a point in the movie where you're not even looking at the subtitles. You can watch the film, not understand a word that they're saying, but understand the story completely to a degree where you don't need the subtitles. That's how I felt in The Platform. That's how I felt in this one. This one had a real heavy, what's that TV show called? All of Us Are Dead.
Yes, that was an excellent fucking series.
It was a great series, and it came out right around the same time, if I'm not mistaken. But I watched them right around the same time. But yeah, the story is so good. You don't even need the dialogue. Not that the dialogue is bad, but it's not necessary to the story because it's done so well. It's acted out so well.
Well, because also you look on top of that is, first of all, JL nailed it when it's like foreign horror doesn't have to follow any rules. No. And that is what makes a lot of the films that they do far superior because of that. And I don't know what it is with American culture, and we don't want to read subtitles, but I'll always quote the director of the movie Parasite, where he goes, "A world of cinema will open up for you if you aren't afraid of subtitles."
Yeah.
And that is 100% true. Sure, you got to kind of get into it the first 5 minutes, but after a while, you don't even notice the subtitles. And on top of that, films that are shot well, the cinematography will tell the story, even if you miss a line.
Yeah.
Like if it's shot well, you'll always know what's going on if you miss something.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling the scene, I don't necessarily need to read the dialogue.
Yeah.
Aaron Reese brings up, look up the Korean concept of Han. It has to do with an innate cultural sense of suffering, and it has had a huge effect on their horror movies. And you bring that up, I'm going to have to look deeper into that, but I already get where you're going with that, Aaron. Absolutely, I will agree with that one. And I loved this one. The one thing that is really, really intriguing that I thought, you brought up subtitles. So I've got two thoughts going at the same time. You brought up subtitles. The movie that taught me that it's okay to have subtitles was Das Boot. So yes. I saw that one, and that's the one that could have kicked it off. That's why I started giving them a chance. If I hadn't given subtitles a chance, I wouldn't have found excellent movies like fucking The Host. You know, because The Host was a fantastic monster movie, and I wouldn't have seen shit like fucking Ichi the Killer and fucking, Happiness to Kataguri and all that. Oh, an Old Boy. There's so many fantastic films out there of all genres that if you don't want subtitles, or if you're just like, oh, I don't like reading it. Or even if you don't like dubbing, if you just want it, if you want it straight, then yeah, you are going to miss out on a lot. Now, the one thing I dug about this, about #Alive, I thought they did brilliantly. Number one, it's shot just beautifully. The film, everything is fantastically done. It's extraordinarily well edited. The sound design and the cinematography are great. One thing that I really, really dug is from a narrative, this is both a writing perspective and from a cinematography perspective. As our hero, and I want to make sure that I pronounce his name correctly, as Oh Jun Woo, because the names, Oh Jun Woo is trying to survive in his apartment, and he makes contact with the girl across the way as he's trying to figure out what to do, because ostensibly they make a big thing that he has no survival skills whatsoever. He's kind of like, fuck, I'm trapped. What am I going to do? So he starts trying to like kind of make his way through this and try to figure it out kind of like, piecemeal as he's going along. As he's doing this and he encounters each obstacle, and he approaches it from the perspective of what he is, which is an introverted gamer that views things in an almost exploration and almost platform, kind of like ideology. Like he looks at the world through that lens, which I found intriguing. The girl that lives across from him also sees the world in a different perspective. And it's how those two perspectives are given equal time in exploring the world, and how they mesh and also how they conflict makes very intriguing character arcs, as far as like when somebody chooses to do something, the other person doesn't see the rationality in that, but then sees it after the fact. And I love that they took the time to explore that, not to mention them, but all the other people they encounter, like the dude who's in his apartment, who is when you meet people in the apocalypse, they're always fucking crazy. And if the guy invites you in to like have soup and hang out, it's like, oh yeah, come on in. It's like, no, don't go in, because it's bad. It's always going to be bad. But I love how they embrace that. How each time we move into a new area, the perspectives change, and how we learn as the protagonists learn, and we adjust as they adjust, and we begin to see things through different people's eyes. And I thought that was brilliant and beautiful storytelling that came through in both the cinematography and in the narrative itself, as we see these characters grow and adapt right before our eyes, given the extraordinary situation that they're in, which I imagine is so hard to do, but that stems from the writing and then goes into your cinematographer. Like the guy with the camera and the director, they know what they want and they know how they're going to tell this, which is fucking brilliant, which is also why Train to Busan works so goddamn well. Because we have so many different passengers, and so many different perspectives to draw from the coward to the badass who's, I'm gonna fucking fight him, shit. I'm fight the zombies, to the guy who's just trying to get back to his daughter. I love that I love how they approached it. It just makes it so different from American horror films.
No, and okay, Casey Cooper brought up, wait, you mean looking at the world as an introverted gamer has problems? No. Looking at the world as an introvert gamer, that's one viewpoint. That's something that you have to look at. So you got to find the people that can give you that perspective, and you convert. And this is like a totally different movie director-wise from the last movie, because you've got somebody who's like, nope, this is my movie and I'm going to make it all about me, unintentionally, but also, kind of on purpose. And then you got movies like this where you can tell other people were brought in. They get actors, or they get people that they can talk to on the outside to be like, hey, if this happened, how would you, approach it? And then they take those notes and they take that in consideration when they're writing the character development, and they implement it for every single character, like on Train to Busan, which is, it's an incredible movie. You could turn off the subtitles and just watch the movie, and it's fantastic. You don't need any of the dialogue, because every character is developed on screen as they should be, because they've done the research. And American movies don't do that a whole lot, with the exception, obviously there's great movies, great directors and all that, but a lot of it's cash grab. You go into different cultures and it's the storytelling that's important, and they nailed it. Even on something like this, like a 2020 hashtag titled movie, and they nailed character development. They nailed all of the scenes to a point where you can feel what the actor is, feeling, or the character is feeling, not the actor, what the actor is portraying, what the character is feeling. And that's brilliant acting, writing, directing. Everybody comes together on it. It's not a one-man show, and it sets it aside. I love J and K horror because they really focus on the storytelling, and that's what it's all about. You want to tell a story, tell the story right.
Exactly. And another thing, when you're watching a zombie movie, good zombie movies aren't about the zombies. It's always about the people. And so it's not necessarily saying, oh, if you're a gamer that's locked away, it's a bad thing. No, it's putting, hey, let's put a thing on isolation. Because so many people are gamers and they lack the survival skills because everything's given to them. Now you're put into the situation. How do you respond? Oh, talking earlier about Train to Busan. What makes Train to Busan so good isn't the zombies, it's the social economic status and what it says about the themes, because you have the dad who's been sacrificing his family for his job, and he's trying to reconnect with his daughter. And you have the rich guy, the CEO, who will easily screw over everybody so that he survives, which is already kind of a theme point because that's what he does all throughout the movie. And then you have the one badass guy who is obviously, in terms of like class wise, the poorest of them all, but he's the one fighting off, and he's fighting and he's going out and he's saving people. And you even have this moment where you have the dad and you have the guy who's a badass who they acknowledge on a normal day they would have never passed by, but now they would have never looked at each other. Now they're becoming best friends, and they're like, in a different world, they probably would have grew up being best friends if you take the social economic status out of it. That's what makes Train to Busan a good movie.
I like how we've just ventured into Train to Busan. Yeah, the caste system completely deteriorates when you're stuck on a train with a bunch of people, and the only people that can help you are the ones that you've always looked down on. But they'll never look down on you because it doesn't matter, you're still human. But that theme carries throughout a lot of JK and you kind of Eastern horror. And
it's also it's an element that's explored in other films, like it. You'll find it also like in Snowpiercer. The Snowpiercer explored this as well. As you move from car to car, and you experience different aspects of humanity from situation to situation, as the people who are at the back are moving up towards the front. And the same thing was in this one in #Alive, as he's moving from apartment to apartment, and he's moving to down closer to the street and encountering different situations as to the people who were living in that particular block. The things that I love how that it explores all the aspects of humanity, is willing to go in directions that we don't expect in order to showcase how people deal with how each individual must deal with the apocalypse, not just in social terms, but also in personal terms, how you internalize it, how you deal with it. All these things that are glossed over in American cinema. Like you take another one, like a big high octane zombie film, take Dawn of the Dead. Okay. So Dawn of the Dead, the everybody like loves. I love the Zack Snyder remake. I absolutely loved it back in 2004. I thought it was, it was well shot. It was well crafted. The zombies were fucking scary because now we got fast zombies, and he kind of like set the bar there. But when you go back and you look at it, for all of its good, for all of its all the wealth that Snyder brought to it, the problem is the characters. The characters themselves, when you look at each and every one of them, they're all actually quite one-dimensional, maybe two-dimensional. There's not a lot of depth to each one of them. Each one of them is an archetype that comes in, and then the archetypes must deal with one another, and that's where you get your generated drama, and then they must all work together and put their separate skills to use, and then they, in trying to survive. But we don't really see it from their perspective. We never see the world through the eyes of Ving Rhames' character. We never see the world through his eyes. The one character that we really do get to see is Andy. Andy, the guy who's like not even really a part of the cast. He's over there on the fucking moon. But we do get to see the world through his eyes because he's isolated. So whenever we show him, we essentially see the world the way he perceives it. But when the group's together, we see it from the group dynamic, which pulls away. We don't get the depth of exploring what each individual is going through and trying to cope with or deal with this. Usually they just snipe at one another or they just compliment one another. Oh, okay, that's great. Human dynamic. You guys managed to not kill each other in an enclosed space, which I don't think is realistic. But these kinds of films like Alive, Busan, Peninsula, to an extent, these films are willing to go to that length. And I thought I think that's what separates them and what makes this movie so good, because it did what its predecessor Alone did not do. So it went to areas and explored those things, whereas Alone was maudlin and just kind of was it? Very American. I'll say this. It's kind of the loss of all this is fuck no, man, survive, do it.
Do what you gotta do.
Dude, I mean, exactly. We're not knocking on American horror film because obviously there's some great ones, but there's just some foreign ones that if you want to go and you actually want to look at like something you have not seen before. You want to see fresh ideas. You want to see things where foreign films don't always have happy endings. There's no formula for foreign films to have happy endings. We've talked about plenty of foreign films where everybody dies or they're trapped or whatever.
The bad ending. You get the bad ending.
The bad ending.
The bad.
Which thing is, so then when you look at foreign films that have the good ending, it makes you appreciate them even more.
Which this one does.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Sarcasm says, tonight's tangent brought to you by K&J Horror. Absolutely. Michelle with 1L says, World War Z is the first fast zombies that I liked and enjoyed how they sense the death in the living. I like that aspect. That was an intriguing aspect they brought into it. I like I like directors that try to bring something new and try to add to it. One thing that #Alive did really, really well is they utilize, like you said, Eugene, zombies are not just supposed to be zombies. Okay, it should be about the human element and what's going on between our characters, but zombies are reflective of something about us. Whether it's, Romero trying to, say it's about conformity, or it's about consumerism, or it's essentially, or like a loss of identity, loss of self, a reflection of the things that we fear the most. And that's what that does in #Alive. Unlike in Dawn of the Dead, where in the remake, where they didn't go with the whole consumerism aspect. It was literally, that was like a throwaway line, why are the zombies converging on the mall? Maybe it's important for them. And then they move on to the next thing. It's like, what? Yeah. Go there, go deep. In Alive, we see that reflection. The zombies are the reflection of our own inner chaos, our own inability to like cope with and deal with everything that's going on around us. And our lives are chaos. And then all of a sudden, the chaos erupts all around us. And now we can now we're finally focused. But we needed the world to fall apart in order to find ourselves, which is fucking tragic. But that's explored very heavily in #Alive. Very similar to Melancholia, Lars von Trier's work, whereas you have Kirsten Dunst and Charlotte Gainsbourg, and you have the two sisters. One of them is like out of control, and the other one is like a complete, like control freak. But then the world ends, and then Kirsten Dunst's character is like, oh, okay, I found my balance and my peace, because now it's all ending and all is good, and she's calm and lucid. Whereas the sister, who's always been the buttoned up, control one, loses her fucking shit and goes off the rails. So, and that's that beautiful exploration, that juxtaposition, is that how each one of us internalizes the horror around us. And we need to be willing as filmmakers to do that, to explore that with each one of our characters, instead of just saying, here's our tropes, here's our cabin in the woods style archetypes, stick them in a room and make them go, and then just throw monsters at them. It gets boring, for lack of a better term.
It does. It's boring. Best case scenario, you have a popcorn film, but
right.
it's that's all it'll ever be, versus something where you have him where he's looking for connection, where you have that.
Yeah, Rodin brought up Return of the Living Dead. When Russo took it off and branched off from he brought fast zombies and interesting characters, because those punks were fucking badass, Leanna Quigley, Leanna.
I still lick my thumb and put it on the front sight before I shoot zombies.
But going back to #Alive, you're talking about the main theme of connection, where he starts off, he's an isolated gamer and he's playing games online. And a lot of times we think that is a connection. But then when the zombie apocalypse happens, he's yearning for an actual real connection with somebody. And it takes a zombie apocalypse for that to happen.
And we see how difficult it is for him to make those connections when he finally starts connecting with the girl across the way. Mm-hmm. He's terrible. He's not great. He sticks his foot in his mouth. He's like, I don't know how to talk to girlies. What do I do? It's like, which is just bad. That's terrible. All of them are in a horrible. It's like, man, we are so underprepared for the fucking apocalypse.
We're so underprepared to actually interact with each other.
Right. That's fucking tragic. Oh, but I love it. I fucking love it. Insane Angel is here. Good to see you. Says, hey, my sexy boys. Good to see you, Insane. Thanks so much for being here. Sir Cab says, OG Dawn of the Dead took my zombie movie virginity. Awesome. Very cool. Nice. It was the original Night. And my dad made sure that I watched Night of the Living Dead, the original one, because he, my dad got that ending. When my dad saw that ending originally, he was like, "What the fuck?"
Everybody needs to see this.
And he was like, that's why he made sure both me and my brother, we saw that movie, because my dad's like, that's a my dad, who, not, he did the best he could with what he had. He's watched Night of the Living Dead, and he was like, that is a lesson that must be taught. That right there. People need to understand what Romero was saying here.
Actually explains a lot about you, JL.
Right.
Hey, Michelle.
Travis Brown
we
also
talk
said
about
more.
World War Z all day long. Love that movie. What did
Casey
Travis
Cooper
Brown say?
Casey Cooper says, I'm certainly unprepared for the zombie apocalypse. Get prepared.
Wow.
Have a zombie plan. That's the thing. Everybody have your zombie plan.
My bug out bag is right there.
You got to be ready.
Gotta be ready.
It's got
gotta
some
be
weird
ready
shit
and head north and head north.
No, that's where everybody else is going. You gotta head south. I'm just kidding. We're obviously not going to the same place.
Don't look at me. I'm not divulging my plans.
No, why would you? That's why I said go south.
Yeah.
You have to meet up with the people that you care about. That's the thing. You have to be able to meet up. I'm going to meet up with my friends, but we have to go north, because the further north you go, the colder it gets. The colder it gets, the harder it is for them to operate, the better your chances for survival.
But that's where everybody else. Never mind. We'll talk about
Yeah,
this. Yeah, we should probably do a live stream about our zombie apocalypse plans. That'd be a good one. All right. We have beat the shit out of this movie. It was a great movie. Great movie. KJ, Eastern horror, fantastic, especially when it comes to zombies, because they got a really cool outlook on them. But I'd like to ask the audience, and this is kind of time specific, what do you think the best new, being post 2020 zombie horror movie is? What's your favorite post 2020? Now that we've gone through a pandemic, now that we've been stuck at home, and isolated, they've kind of changed the views on how this goes, because we've had a very Max Brooks view on zombies, or we've got a Schneider view on zombies, but then now we've gone through a pandemic. It's kind of changed a little bit. We've been through it. Not zombies, but a pandemic, being isolated, being taken away from the things that every day. What do you think the best post 2020 zombie horror film is? There's a few. Actually, a lot came out, which was kind of wild.
I'd have to say, the best post 2020. I gotta double check. No, because that came out a long time ago. Post 2020. So there's something. So Insanity says I'm still stuck on Z Nation, way behind like that.
I love Z Nation. Black Summer.
Black Summer's even better. Black Summer is fantastic.
Well, it's great because it's a prequel.
But best post 2020.
Oh man!
Like now that we're in the 2020s.
I'd say probably most entertaining, and I don't know if it came out in 2020 or 2021. I remember was Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead was good.
Army of the Dead. It was
good. It was a fun movie. Yeah.
Entertaining. The Tiger was fucking awesome.
I have to say the best post 2020. I'm gonna have to, and this is gonna go Eastern horror. I'm gonna have to say The Sadness. I think The Sadness was the best one to come out yet.
2022.
That was 2021. 2021 is when that dropped. I'm gonna have to go The Sadness, because one, not as many people have seen it as I think should see it, and two, it is fucking savage. And I'm talking it's next level in its brutality. And plus, but they don't lose despite the fact that it is a fucking gore fest. That movie does not drop any strength in its narrative whatsoever. The characters are deep, they are complex. The way they interact with one another, the way they deal with it, it's like #alive on fucking steroids. It is so fucking intense. But I highly recommend everybody see The Sadness if you've got the stomach for it, because there's some hardcore stuff in that film.
Yeah, doing research on zombie films, like post 2020 zombie films before the show. Pet Cemetery is coming out with another fucking movie. So
man, fuck that noise.
Bloodline's coming. Yeah, it's just why would you waste your time? There's another movie coming out called Dick Dynamite, 1944.
Fuck. Oh, definitely. I say we got some love for Army of the Dead. Insane Angel says Army of the Dead was pretty good. It still had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
Army of the Dead had some good moments. I really want to see a sequel so we can figure out what the fucking zombie robots were about, because I don't fucking there's like so much of that movie I don't fucking understand. It was like, what the, like shooting zombies. Zombie. Then he shoots the one and its head explodes and sparks shit. And then there's supposedly aliens involved. And I was like, what the fuck? So yeah.
Surprise!
It's like that makes and no explanation whatsoever. I was like, okay, that's great. Army of the Dead was good. Army of Thieves was also quite good as a prequel. I thought Army of Thieves was really, really good. So hopefully Snyder brings in a sequel that kind of explains shit there. Yes, Joshua Lee, Train to Busan does have a sequel. Peninsula came out in 2021. Yeah. Yep. Oh, Insane Angel, the baby part messed me up. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's also that movie with a Black Friday.
Black Friday. Yeah.
Black Friday was fun.
Black Friday was enjoyable. It had some good moments in it. Yeah. All right. So we got one last
name. The response to the pandemic really shows how a zombie apocalypse would happen. It does, and it's terrifying because it's not like the movies, but also exactly like the movies. It's the mass panic.
If it's one thing the pandemic taught us, is that 60% of you motherfuckers out there will not tell us if you got bitten.
Yep.
60% of these motherfuckers out there would not say that they would hide their zombie bite.
That's something that, in terms of mortality rate, if you had something that was 100% mortality rate like a zombie, I guarantee the number's much higher.
Are you hiding? Have you been bitten? Of course not.
You're wearing a sweatshirt and it's 113 degrees outside.
Your eyes are blood red. You just ate my buddy, so.
Insane Angel says, where can I watch The Sadness? Where is it currently? The Sadness. You can check that out. It is available. You have to pay for it. It's on Amazon, but you have to rent it. So it's on Amazon and it's on Vudu for $3.99. You can watch if you have the AMC Plus subscription. You can watch it there. It's also on Roku, but you're gonna have to rent it. So.
Or online.
Oh no, there's love for Dead Snow. We talked about Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2. So there's love for Dead Snow. Fuck yes.
We went through that and we have put it behind us because
dude, fucking zombie Nazis there's nothing better. Nothing better than popping zombie Nazi heads. All right, Eugene, take us on, man. We got one last one to talk about.
All right, the last one we have is Nightmares, that was released September 9th, 1983. Roll it.
Somewhere between the real and the unreal.
According to the legend, das Teufelnagetier cannot be destroyed.
Between the world of daylight and the dark of night.
I am the Bishop of Battle, master of all I survey.
Between the peaceful sleep of dreams and the endless sleep of death lies the realm of nightmares.
That fucking truck, man.
Nightmares. They don't only happen at night. Each summer, one film opens that you've never heard of and that you will never forget. Nightmares is this year's sleeper.
All right, that is Nightmares, directed by Joseph Sargent, starring Emilio Estevez, Christina Rains, Lance Henriksen, Richard Mosier, and Veronica Cartwright. And basically what it is you have 4 different stories here. So it's like an anthology series, and each one deals with something that's a little bit different. So you start off with basically a chain smoker who deals with a serial killer. You have a video game player who basically gets carried away. You have Satan's like truck thing that's just like fuck you all the way through. And then finally you have a rat that pretty much torments a person. And shit gets real.
I thoroughly, you know me. We love anthologies here. I especially love anthology horrors, and I really dug this one. Even though I will say this, we've watched a few anthologies that were geared towards a slightly younger audience, and I think that this one was as well. It wasn't as extreme as some of the horror that we talk about. So definitely, I would say that Nightmares was very horror stories for the kind of the young at heart, where ostensibly we have urban legends and cautionary tales that are being explored here, and kind of like ancient legends and stuff like that, like the devil rat, but of course, the killer hiding in the backseat of the car, and taking your love of things too far. I enjoyed it for the tales that we're telling. So it felt very Goosebumps. It felt very Alone in the Dark. It's that kind of style where it just kind of eases up to the edge without going into too extreme territory, where it conveys these themes in a really compelling way. And I love short form horror. I absolutely do. And plus, we don't need a framing narrative. 4 separate stories, not even Creepshow style, just 4 separate stories. Let's let them run on their own. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Just how we approach each one. It's just so much fun. So especially the fucking the car one. The car one was great. The benediction was amazing. When that car jumps out of when that truck comes out of the goddamn ground, I was like, oh shit. This is new. This is interesting. I like this.
It's Tremors, but with the Dodge.
You go back to fucking The Car with Josh Brolin. We didn't even get that. The car just drove out of a tunnel, and there it was. Like, it came out of the shadows. This fucker came up out the earth. Oh, and I'm coming to get you. It's like, I fucking love that, dude. Oh, I'm fucking amazing.
Harvesting your crops was hard.
That was a big ass. That was like what it says is a Chevrolet C20 fleet side. Big ass truck. I fucking loved it. the Dodge Tremor. I love it. Fucking love it. Oh yes, but there were so many good ones, and so many faces in this one. I would forgotten how many actors were in this, because you've got Veronica Cartwright, who is Alien, who we all remember from Alien, and William Sanderson.
Fresh off of Alien, right?
Right. Yeah, and then William Sanderson, who's been around for fucking forever. Go ahead.
No, keep going. Yeah, you're right. Fresh off of Alien.
And then fucking Emilio Estevez. So Emilio Estevez, who you will know from Young Guns, shit like that. James Tolkien. James Tolkien was the voice of the bishop of the I guess the animated bishop. Yeah. That dude's the fucking principal in the Back to the Future trilogy.
Yeah.
So he's at Lance Henriksen. Fucking Lance Henriksen. Before this is pre-Pumpkinhead, pre-Aliens. Lance Henriksen kicking ass, pre-Near Dark, and then you've got Tony Plana, who's in there as well, and fucking Richard Masur from The Thing. So, and unfortunately, what I found was kind of sad. Bridget Anderson. Bridget Anderson was the little girl who was in the daughter of that family in the final one. She unfortunately passed away from an opioid overdose when she was 21. Her career kind of like went, but unfortunately, she kind of fell prey to what happened to child actors in the 80s. Which is a shame, but she was very, very talented. So a whole host of talent in this fucking thing. Smart direction. I thoroughly enjoy. I love this one way more than I. Plus, I remember, dude. Eugene, Alex, have you ever encountered where you remember something you watched as a child or in your youth? You remember like a scene, like I remember the scene for a movie. You can never remember what the movie is.
Nosferatu for me. Yep.
Yes. So that happened with me. This is one of those ones. It was the same when Veronica Cartwright, when the mom is going up underneath the house. And then she encounters the rat. There's like the eyes are glowing. She puts her hand on the dead cat and everything. I remembered that scene for forever. Like that scene was embedded in my fucking memory and I could never remember what that movie was. And finally, here we are. Here it is. I was like, fucking hell, yes.
See, and that kind of plays into something that I wanted to talk about, was the difference between the way that movies were made for a younger audience back then and they are now. You have a lot of, and see, we love them, these horror anthologies, because we grew up with them. It was the way that they targeted younger audiences. It was like, hey, come to the theater. We've got a variety of shows. It's not going to be one thing for 2.5 hours. You don't have to focus on it. You know, we're gonna cut this up. We're gonna tell a bunch of different stories. They're gonna be fun. They're gonna be short. We're gonna hold your attention, and then we're gonna move to the next thing before we lose it. And you just don't see that anymore, which kind of sucks, because there are some good anthologies out there. Two sentence horror stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
not too long ago. I thought that was amazing. Give me the premise. Give me a 15-minute or 20-minute, short. I love that. That's my thing, because that's what I grew up with. It was like Goosebumps. That was another one. There's a lot of different stories. You can do a lot of different things in a short amount of time if you've got a good story behind it. You just don't see that so much anymore. The stuff that's kind of geared towards teenagers now is more trying to connect with the teenagers or connect with the younger audiences. And it's like, no, I don't want you to try to be cool and hip. I want you to do something cool and hip. You know what I mean? I want you to just do it. Like these anthologies, it's like, okay, we got 4 stories here. Was it 4? There was 4 in this one, right?
Yeah, it's 4.
4 stories.
Yeah, 4.
Cool. If you don't like one, or if you don't like number 1 and number 3, 2 and 4 might have hit with you. It's hitting a whole bunch of different audiences in a short amount of time, while all being extremely entertaining in their own way. And so Stephen King still does it in his writing, is another thing that I love about that. You can pick up a Stephen King book and read 3 different stories, and it keeps you engaged. And they just don't do that a whole lot anymore. Not on the blockbuster side. You see it sometimes in some of the streaming services, but it's just it was cool, and it never happened after that.
Well, because when you have horror shorts, there's not a lot of platforms out there that you can actually have people watch, because you can't do short films in theaters because people pay for movies. People do not pay to see short films. And sometimes you have a horror short that's it. It's a self-contained story. It's something that's like 20 minutes. And you don't want to flesh it out, because when you start going to a feature length, then you have to have your B plots and your C plots, and you have all this other threads, and you have to all this other kind of stuff. And sometimes it's like, listen, we're going to have a babysitter in the house, killer's there, and they're going to duke it out, and we're going to see who comes on top. And that's all. That's it. We don't need to know why is the babysitter there? Protect the kid. Done. Killer's there because he wants to kill people. That's it. And so when you have like a good horror short, you can make something and then you have nothing to show on, because let's say you go to a film festival. Film festivals are awesome. Film festivals are great. Film festivals are for filmmakers. People regularly don't buy tickets to go to film festivals to watch movies. Right. They just don't. And the people who buy tickets for film festivals are people who have films already in them. It's rare for somebody just go, you know what? I'm going to see Dallas International Film Festival is going on this Saturday. I'm just going to pop in and kind of see. That's extremely rare. So when you have these,
people don't do that.
See, people should though. But when you have these anthology series, like the ABCs of Death and VHS and some of these and Cat's Eye and some of these others, it's like you can actually put some of these shorts together and make it a feature film. And they don't have to relate to each other. You don't have to have characters come over. Plus, on top of that, it allows you to get top-level talent super cheap, because you don't have to pay for Lance Henriksen through an entire film. You got to pay him for like 3 days. Emilio Estevez, 3 days. And you know what? You slap their name on the cover. You put them on. You slap their face, name, boom. Here you go. It's perfect.
And it's so fucked up, because like sweaty Emilio Estevez, like over a freaking like arcade cabinet. That was more entertaining in those moments than all of his performance in fucking Maximum Overdrive. That movie was so fucking terrible. Even Estevez, because I was like, holy shit. This kid took a fucking 15-minute short, or maybe a 20-minute short, and he fucking killed it with this gamer character, and just goes to show his talent. I love that, and plus when it's that you can there's no arcs that you have to build. There's no like length that you can literally just dive into the character and you can get the full experience, which I really, really thoroughly love. There is so much love for this movie in the live chat. I have to say this. Joshua Lee, Nightmares, Sleeper. I see what they did there. Yeah, it was actually really, really good. Nemo 813 says, I saw this one in theater. Awesome. That's fucking cool. Ronald Same says, saw this as a kid on VHS. Barely remember it. Definitely go back and watch it if you get the opportunity. It's for free on the internet, so you can go and see it. Angel Rivera says the devil car was Christine's fat cousin. This is true. Absolutely was. Travis Brown says, so it's the truck from Duel that acts like Jaws, pretty much.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. Let me see here. So Sarcasm brings up, this is the film that bagged Emilio the Repo Man role. Very cool. And Emo 813 says, was the truck repossessed? See what you did there. Casey Cooper says, I am the Bishop of Battle. Slacker. When I heard that voice, I was like, I just wanted to call him a slacker. That shit would have been fucking great. Oh, if it actually gone there. Aaron Reeves brings up, this was the first horror movie I ever picked out for myself, actually. That is fucking cool.
That's awesome.
Cool. That's awesome.
Where the hell are we tonight then? Damn.
One thing I found super intriguing about this particular movie, when it comes to like, I would say young adult horror and how horror was put forward for a more youthful audience, is that horror especially horror anthologies that were geared towards that spent more, the focus on those was more on, say, like I said, cautionary tales, urban legends, right place, wrong time kind of things. That's where the horror was centered, with big moral things, where it's essentially looking at like the consequences of your actions, like for example, the one for the Toledo, I can't remember the name of it. Fucking Terror in Topanga, but the girl, the woman who's a chain smoker, and she's like, I got to get my pack of cigarettes, and winds up, toe to toe with the fucking serial killer. So I like how that was presented, very similar to how horror stories have transpired through the ages, where it's essentially just telling stories that reflect reality in order to make kids aware of these things. But now obviously it's changed. I think we could say that it's effectively changed. That nowadays, we see the horror films that come out, especially for those, like if you take like Fear Street, or if you take like the new Goosebumps movie, like the Goosebumps films, things are presented in a more philosophical way, and people are asking, or I would say younger audiences are asking deeper questions about how they themselves would deal with these things, moral quandaries that are far deeper than you would expect in the 80s or the 70s or anything beyond that. And it's interesting how this change in young horror, or like I would say young adult horror, or how it's presented to people, has changed over time. And I've been sitting here trying to like mull over, like, why is that? Like, why is that? What has affected us as a society to result in how we tell the next generation horror stories? Why has it changed so dramatically to just simply like warnings about reality to now really thinking about yourself and really exploring the depths of your own character in response to these extreme scenarios, or even in response to what you may not know about your friends or your loved ones or your family, like going into these deep, deep, dark territories? It's gotten darker. It's gotten heavier.
Oh, the simple fact is just the internet. And honestly, just the internet, because now we're so interconnected. You have things like identity crisis. You have exposure to so much information now. So it's an overload of information. And we didn't have this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we were growing up, because it was just you. It was you and your family. Your world was your home life, and you had your school. And that was it. Those were the only things that you were sitting there thinking about. And now you have people going on social media. People are reading articles. People are getting exposure to information. They can go to school and also another kid, oh, I saw this video on the internet. I saw this video doing this and this and this and this. So you're exposed to so much information now, and it's so much harder to carve out an identity. And there's so much more to think about at a younger age.
That's intriguing how much the internet has affected us as a society. In I figured that the exposure to more information was part of it. Just the fact that there are more ideas out there, more things are available at a moment's notice. Information travels at the speed of light, so people are exposed to more interesting ideas and more in deeper concepts, and just in odd sense, because it kind of reflects the innocence of a time when we grew up and the stories that we got. Like if you look at Cat's Eye, Tales from the Dark Side, even things like The Outer Limits and Twilight Zone, these questions were asked. They posed these, and you could either watch it for just the horror effects. There's something on the wing, shit like that. You could watch it for that, or you could watch it for the deeper questions, because Twilight Zone was very good. Outer Limits very good at asking these questions. Friday the 13th, the series, really good, but it's not like today. Because today, and I think Aaron put a finger on it right there, because Aaron Reese brings up, because we've realized that humans are far more terrifying than any monster that we could concoct. And I think I would agree with that.
Toe-to-toe with a zombie any day. Put me in front of a fucking person, I don't know what to do.
See, that's interesting, because back in the early 2000s, back in like the 2005, or was it? No, when was it? 2000? Yeah, 2005, when the show Supernatural kicked off. There was an episode that came along, because technically they're monsters and ghosts and shit that they fight on a weekly basis in their Monster of the Week setup. But there was one episode where the bad guys were humans. They're just people hunting people.
And they're like, we don't know what the fuck to do.
And the character Dean says, he's like, you put me up against anything. I'm not afraid of anything. Humans are the only things that scare me. Because there's no reason for them to be monstrous. They simply are. They choose to be that way. Monsters don't have a choice. Monsters act because that's what they are. Humans, you never know. That's why humans are the only thing that scares Dean, which I find compelling, interesting, in how that mentality has shifted our focus and how this next generation approaches this very concept. But that's also, I think, going to open interesting doors, say in another 10, 15, 20 years, and how horror is presented, how this current generation right now is going to be the leaders in the industry going forward, how they are going to present horror to us, to that next generation. It's going to be really fascinating. Like the idea that, in 15 years, or what was it? It was like 10 years, or I think it was back in 2020. We were sitting there contemplating that, in 20, 25 years, we will have somebody in Congress who grew up playing Grand Theft Auto. And it's like, interesting when you think about it in that respect. Right. So I'm kind of curious about that. Just as far as where that can go. It's intriguing.
And because it's interesting. I love the quote of, we're talking about like parents raising kids, and it's parents are taught to raise a kid in a world that no longer exists, because we don't know the full extent of how the internet is going to affect the next generation. We don't, because they're not at that age yet. We grew up at the tail end where I remember the first time I got on the internet, because I was already in middle school. I had hands down remember, and I'm pretty sure y'all do too. But when you get to people who grew up on Google was always there. Google always existed. And how does that affect somebody when they're 30, when they're 40? That's a question that no one has the answer to right now.
Right.
Shit,
Aaron Reese brings up. Aaron Reese brings up. Aaron Reese brings up, it's easy to know what to do with an evil human. It's spotting them that's the dangerous part. At least the pod people have some tells. This is true. Man, but God, this was a good one. I thoroughly enjoyed all of these entries. All of them had something to bring. And plus, Veronica Cartwright, nobody does apocalyptic screaming and crying like Veronica Cartwright does. That girl has got it down. Dee Wallace is fantastic. She is. Dee Wallace is great. She does fucking Cujo style. But the world's coming to an end. No one does like Veronica Cartwright. The way she panics is just fucking chef's kiss.
So I want to ask the audience, what do you feel is the best Nightmares entry? So you have 4 different stories, right? You have Terror in Topanga, the Bishop of Battle, the Benediction, and Night of the Rat. Which one do you feel like is the best entry in the Nightmares? Let us know in the comments below or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Let's see, what was your favorite, Eugene? Which one did you like the most?
I mean, I gotta go Benediction. I mean, it's just something about a truck that's just
yes.
Duel.
Benediction.
I mean, Duel was one of my favorite movies growing up. So any kind of, and I love Christine. So it spoke to me.
Awesome. What about you, Alex?
I'd have to go with the Bishop of Battle.
Bishop of Battle?
They were all great. The Benediction was great because of the truck and everything. It was the shut up mom aspect of the Bishop of Battle.
God, he was such a fucking dick. He was such a douche.
He was a dick. And then he got his just desserts. So yeah, it was pretty good.
You know, and I almost would have said Night of the Rat. But my favorite was also Benediction. Night of the Rat was close. But the reason that tipped for me, the reason Night of the Rat tipped for me was not because of the cheesy rat effects at the end, because it was obviously a superimposed rat, but I thought they did fairly well for 83. It was the fact that Richard Masur was such a fucking asshole. That dude was a dick. And I was like, undermining his wife at like every turn. Why can't you be like a normal woman? Why do you always have to stick your nose into shit? It's like, what the fuck, dude? And it's like then you have to encounter a demon rat. Oh, I recognize the value of my wife now. I was like, fuck off. She ought to divorce your ass after the bullshit you put her through. All the fucking gaslighting and shit. It was fucked up. Oh man. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the Benediction. I love Lance Henriksen. He's fucking legend. And the fact that he was just the way he conveys just the way he does characterization is why he's legend. You know, I love everything, every nuance he brings to it. It's why he's so fucking fantastic in Pumpkinhead. Fuck, man, what that man can just do with a look is so wildly intense. Fucking hell. Michelle with 1 L. Yes, that is the main reason. Asshat. Fucking yes, absolutely. Definitely. But definitely let us know what your favorite entry was down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. All right. You know what time it is. I'm sorry, Raven Darkstar. You know what time it is. What time is it, gentlemen? Oh, she hates that so much. She really does. So, yes, it is trivia time. Trivia time, the one time everybody is waiting for. So, this is your opportunity to win a special item from the Week in Horror Store, a mystery item from the Week in Horror Store over at Teespring. So, the first person in the live chat to get the correct answer to this trivia question will get a special item, and I will print that out and ship it to you as soon as I can. And here we go. So, get those Google fingers ready. You are so not. I'm sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, Raven. Okay, here's your question tonight. Before becoming a theatrical feature for Universal, Nightmares was originally conceived to be a 2-hour pilot for an anthology series to air on what network? Before becoming a theatrical feature for Universal, Nightmares was originally conceived to be a 2-hour pilot for an anthology series that would air on what network? First person with the correct answer in the live chat wins a prize from the Week in Horror Store. Already. That was fast. Let me double check and make sure I got the all comments up. Let me see here. Yep, all messages. Looking for confirmation.
So I have Travis Brown as first.
I also have Travis Brown as first.
I have Travis Brown as first as well. So I got Travis Brown was first. Jefferson Spatchcock was right behind him. I think it was almost simultaneous. Holy shit, with NBS. And the answer was NBC. That show was originally, that anthology was originally supposed to be for NBC until the Universal decided to make it into a feature. Which is wild because here, it's a good thing we checked the live chat because here on StreamYard, I've got Jefferson Spatchcock first. But but Travis got in there Travis got in there quick. I love it. Ivy Gentry, CBS. No. UPN? Really? UPN? But yes, definitely it was NBC. It was originally supposed to air on that before they decided to take it into a theatrical. So congratulations to Travis Brown and Travis says, I want to give my prize to Raven due to hearing that horn every single time. That's very sweet of you, Travis.
Nice.
Very nice. All right, then. So I will write down Raven Darkstar to receive the prize that you won. So very, very generous of you, Travis. I know you've won a whole bunch of stuff, but congratulations again. And congratulations to Raven. Raven, be sure to get us your shipping details so we can get that printed out to you ASAP. So look forward to hearing it. Either send it to me via Discord or via weekinhorror@gmail.com.
All right, everybody. And that, you twisted fucking horror fiends, will close out another week's episode of the Week in Horror podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash those like and subscribe buttons and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the gory and audacious Bava Argento sequel, Demons 2, the terrifying the terrifying Here Comes the Devil, the icon helmed in anthology Trapped Ashes, and the brutal and beautiful surrealistic insanity of the Nick Cage epic, Mandy. Finally.
We finally get to talk about Mandy.
4 fucking seasons, and we finally get to talk about Mandy. Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork you see splattered all over our merch, which you can find over at Teespring. For more from Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links in the description. Follow us on the socials for your daily splatter, your daily horror recommendation. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, and all kinds of horror shenanigans. And support the show through channel memberships, super chats, PayPal, and through our Patreon. Join the higher tiers for early content access and behind-the-scenes fun with the crew, or even just support the show for as little as just $1 a month. What are you waiting for? Join us. As always, thank you all for being the greatest audience a podcast could ever have. I'm Alex.
And I'm Eugene.
And I'm JL.
And we'll see y'all next week. And as always, stay scared. Ambiguity.